A long-tail cast-on is a loose cast-on method that is done using a single needle. You need to estimate a tail of yarn for this long-tail cast-on. You start with a slip knot, and the slip knot counts as the first stitch. Once you've created your slip knot, place it on the needle. To begin the cast-on, place your tail yarn on one side of the needle and your working yarn, that attached to the ball, on the other. Put your thumb and index fingers together and place them between the two strands of yarn. Spread these fingers, pulling the tail and working yarn away from one another. Grasp the ends of the strands of yarn with the other three fingers on your hand. You are in the correct position when you have a loop of yarn from your working yarn around your index finger and a loop of yarn from your tail yarn around your thumb. To cast on your first stitch, bring the needle over both strands of yarn in the loop that is around your thumb. Take the needle down and under the strands and then back up through the center of the loop of yarn. Then take the needle over the first strand of yarn on the loop on your index finger and down through the center of that loop. As you bring your needle through, it catches that strand of yarn. Take that strand of yarn through the loop on your thumb, and as you go, let go of the loop on your thumb and tension it to create the stitch with the strand of yarn you passed through. This definitely takes a little bit of practice to get used to, but it is super worth it when you do, because this is a really easy, quick cast on. The long-tail cast-on is also really useful because you have good control over how much space to leave between your stitches. You do this by not pulling the yarn very tightly as you tension it. Make sure you leave a consistent amount of yarn between each stitch. The more space you leave between your stitches, the stretchier the cast-on becomes. Do not be tempted to leave too much yarn between your stitches. Let's see that again. Take your needle over to the left, up through the loop on your thumb, over to the right and down through the loop on your index finger, grasp the strand of yarn and pull it through the loop on your thumb. Tension your stitch. Continue doing this until you have the desired number of stitches. As we did with the cable cast-on, it is useful to look at how the back of the work looks when you cast on using a long-tail cast-on method. You can see here that the bumps are even more defined than on a cable cast-on. I tend to use a long-tail cast-on method where I'm going to be keeping that side of the work inside, so for example in socks, or if I'm going to work a wrong side row first.